All right. So I am super excited to present to you guys about using games as a starting point for real world impact. And I'll be talking primarily about a board game that I designed called Solutions, which is a game about hope and action for the climate. So really the most influential book, I think it would be an understatement to say, in my climate journey was reading the book Drawdown. And it's the namesake of the conference. I'm sure many of you here have read the book, but if anyone here hasn't read the book, it's just this really absolutely fantastic compilation of climate solutions, a very unique and surprising list, at least to myself at the time. And I just would absolutely love flipping through the book and brainstorming, well, how can I fit into this solution? How can I fit into this one? And in September 2019, they held their first official conference in Penn State, and I flew out, had an absolute blast of a time. And at the end of the conference, we held an unconference, which was basically us attendees coming together, forming groups and brainstorming, well, how can we bring all these amazing climate solutions to life? And one of the attendees happened to be Hank Rogers, who's the entrepreneur behind Tetris. And he, of course, ran a session on the gamification of Drawdown. One of his suggestions was to turn Drawdown into a card game. And I heard him say that, I was just immediately like, no, this needs to be a board game, not a card game. And I just started brainstorming the rules on the spot. And I ended up talking to Hank about it, talking to someone on the Drawdown team. And here I am 2.5 years later. So before really getting into how it works, I'll just share a quick video with you guys of the game in action. I think the sound should work with you guys. Let me know if it doesn't.
Are we all good? This is big.
One by one?
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
from the lowest to the lowest. Let's see.
Oh, what?
Oh, that's so wrong.
Well, that is so wrong.
Maybe we have it in backwards order.
That's
I wouldn't have thought that.
I would.
Yeah.
This is like number two. This must be two.
Yeah.
I think it's like the very simple, obvious ones are the highest.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So that's a video of people who have absolutely no connection to the climate movement whatsoever, normally wouldn't be having any discussions about climate change, but you can see how kind of into the subject they're getting and into kind of thinking about these different climate solutions. So the subtitle of the game is Discover, Prioritize, and Take Action. And I'll kind of go through the three of those and what they mean in the context of the game and in the context of inspiring real world action. So the first one is discover, and really what I mean by that is getting people to discover all these unique and surprising climate solutions. And so we all know them if we've read Drawdown or Regeneration, but when most people think of climate solutions, they think of, for example, solar panels or electric cars, and those are really important. They're in Drawdown, they're in the game, but the point is that there's so much more out there that most people have never even heard of. That can be really inspiring for them to even know that these exist. The second element is prioritize, and really what I mean by that is getting people to think critically about the solutions and engage meaningfully with them. So when I started playing, when I told my friend I was designing this game, he immediately told me to go buy Terraforming Mars, which is actually a game about causing climate change on Mars so that we can live on Mars. And there were a lot of similarities on the surface. And the game had these tremendously unique and creative cards, and you can see some of them here. There's the Electro Catapult or Arctic Algae. And I was just so in love with these cards and flipping through them, but when it actually got to playing the game, I was really disappointed because the content and the magic of the cards didn't matter whatsoever to the gameplay. And all that actually mattered was, well, this card says +5 this, -2 this, and then you ignore all the magic of the card. And so really my express design goal here was to, if you're going to play one of these magical climate solutions in the game, I want you to really engage with that solution and think critically about it. And so really the design intent here, yes, so get people to actively engage with the solutions. Also here you can see a picture of me with 3 different iterations of the prototypes of the game. On the left, you can see the very first game, just paper printout, some tokens, and to the right, you can see the first official pre-production copy, which I was super excited to get about a month ago. And so yeah, so the intent throughout this process was to get people to engage with the solutions, get the game to feel as realistic as possible. And what I mean by that is I put a lot of effort into matching up luck in the game. So you have luck in dice rolls, for example, and matching that up to luck in real life, into some of the unknowns in real life climate science. So for example, we don't know exactly when feedback loops are going to happen. So that's a luck element in the game. And I also just really want people to feel intense, feel like they're under pressure, but also feel hopeful and empowered that they can push through it and feel like they're on a team kind of doing this all together. And so let me share my other screen with you guys and show you a little bit about how that works. I think you guys should be able to see the virtual version of the game now. And I'm not going to go through the whole game by any means, but just quickly, you can see that there's a giant thermometer here. And really, the crux of the game is you're going to move forwards through time as a team. And as you move forwards through time, you're under this constant pressure of the temperature always increasing. And it's your goal as a team to play this giant stack of climate solutions in order to keep the temperature back down. And one other quick thing I'll go over that is kind of fun is, so hard mode starts in 2020, and in 2020, we were at about 1 degree above pre-industrial levels. So you'd start right here. Medium mode starts in 1990. The reason I chose 1990 is because that's when the first IPCC report came out. And that's really when the scientific consensus was just crystal clear that climate change is a problem and we need to start thinking seriously about it. And so medium mode is kind of a nice what if scenario. Well, what if we had listened to those scientists back in 1990 and gotten our act together right away? And so in that case, you would start all the way down here at 0.5 degrees. And then extra hard mode basically starts in 2030 and simulates what if we do nothing? What if we take no meaningful global action until 2030? And then you would start all the way up here. And of course, your goal is by the end of the game, by the year 2050, to keep temperatures at or below 1.5 degrees, or at least not to let them get over 2 degrees. So just to get back quickly to how the game really encourages this deep debate. So every player has 3 solutions in their hand at all times, and one player will propose a solution. Say I propose green and cool roofs, and then another player is going to propose another solution. And when they propose this other solution, it's going to kick off a debate about these solutions. And all the players are going to come together and think about which solution can have the most impact between now and 2050. And you can see there's kind of a track on the board. So the more impactful solutions go to the left, less impactful go to the right. And so this sparks this really amazing debate. Even when people have never heard of these solutions before, there's always something they can hook onto and some previous experience they have, and they start thinking about it. And then when they come to a decision, they're going to flip over the cards and see if they were right. And so these rankings come from the Drawdown rankings. So you can see there's the giant ranking here. So number 1 is the highest impact solution. There's the gigatons of reduced CO2 here. Then there's a little graph here, which gives a bit of a sense of scale of the solution. And then a short blurb at the bottom that gives a bit of an explanation as to why the solution is ranked where it is. And then if you ever want more information, you can scan the QR code and it'll take you to a website where you can learn more about it and also where you can take action. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. So let me go back to my other screen. All right. So there's a few different target audiences for the game, and we've tested the game on over 600 people at this point, from kids, teens, adults, climate scientists. We tested the game with members of the Drawdown research team, which was super cool, and members of the general public with, like I said, no prior interest in climate. And so here you can see towards the left are the sectors where I feel like we've really validated the usefulness of the game. And towards the right are areas that I'd like to break into, but aren't necessarily validated yet. And so starting with educators, I mean, we've tried it in elementary schools, high schools, middle schools, colleges, PhD level, master's students. And we're actually partnering with an amazing organization called Climate Science to develop a lesson plan for the game. And that really turns the game into a ready-made kind of lesson in a box about climate change. And having had dozens and dozens of conversations with teachers, there's so many educators who want to teach about climate change but don't know how. And often, even if they do know how to teach about climate and already do, it's usually from the science perspective and talking about all the problems and everything going wrong, which can be it's very important, but can also be really depressing and lead to climate anxiety in students. And so this is kind of a prepackaged lesson in a box that also looks at the positive side of things. And we've tested that in boys and girls clubs, not yet in zoos, but that's something I'd love to explore. And we also have a fantastic partner here in Green Teacher, which is they're a global network of eco-educators. So I'll just show some really quick videos. This is a video of a high school playing the game.
Every day, but you're gonna have to build all those.
Well,
you're gonna have to turn.
are more important because you have a lot of people
So if the train was electric,
that then aren't using a car.
But unfortunately, none of them people use electric trains.
Yeah, but
Well,
not,
maybe if we had electric trains, people would use them.
would you? Okay, but not in the train doesn't always get to where you want. You get to the train station, sure, but what if
So you can see the kids just really getting really engaged, really into these debates, and just caring about these solutions that they're learning about. Here's a much quicker video on middle schools.
Let's go.
So that was a middle school in Sweden getting excited about one of the card flips. And then for elementary schools, here's a quick one. And so here the teacher was playing in front of the classroom for all the students.
Low fixtures are 70. Composting. 57.
That's ours.
Last card.
Your greatest screws it up again.
32.
And so I'm pretty sure that was the game-winning hand for them. And so as I said, we've tested the game probably with over 200, 300 people in the general public. And one thing I want to highlight here is you can see this quote on the bottom from Severin. And Severin's a game designer, no connection to climate. And he's saying, I never considered a board game about climate change as something that I would buy or enjoy playing, but man, was I wrong. Solutions was a blast to play and we were caught off guard by so many of the solutions. I do highly recommend to give it a try if the topic sounds only remotely interesting for you. I think that quote really leads to an interesting challenge in climate communication, where just most people in the public, when they hear that, oh, they're going to play a game about climate change or read a book about climate change, it sounds like homework. It doesn't sound like something that they're going to enjoy doing. And I think it can be really important to break into the 99% of people who are disengaged with climate to kind of get at it in a fun way. And then so the markets I'm exploring, parents, I've played the game with a few parents. They've really enjoyed it, but I haven't played with enough parents. I think one of the interesting opportunities with parents is I think children can often be one of the best ways to get adults to take action. And I think you see this with smoking. So for example, with smoking, often no amount of those scary government ads or the graphic pictures on the cigarette packs, those things often won't get people to stop smoking. And the thing that actually works is their kids coming to them and saying, hey, mommy, daddy, please stop doing this. I don't want you to die. And I think we can have similar moments with climate change and have that activate a lot of the adults as well. organizations, I think there's an opportunity to use the game for brainstorming in organizations to think about starting points for what that organization can do to reach their climate goals. And so we actually played the game also with local climate organizations. One of them was a local organization in Toronto. They flipped over the food waste card, surprisingly impactful card. And you can see Bruce here is saying food waste is one of the solutions where we, as a local group, if we want to focus on that, we might be able to really make an impact. And that's a situation where they flipped over the food waste card, were shocked by the impact, and actually paused the game just to discuss how they could affect that as a group. And then for policymakers as well, I'm partnered with the organization's Green Pack and People's Plan. And the goal there is to see how we can get local councils to start brainstorming about climate solutions. So finally, taking action. So like I said, you can scan the QR code on the back of the card. It takes you to a website. This is a very early version of the website, but you can see there's buttons to learn more and take action. And what I mean by taking action, there's a lot of different ways to take action. And when people think about, well, what can I do about climate change? They often think about the tiny personal actions they can take so that they can fly less, eat less meat. And then there's the giant actions that only governments or corporations can take. And a lot of what I'm trying to get at here is there's a huge sphere of action in the middle where a single individual or a group of individuals can have huge impacts on a huge action beyond themselves. And I'll give you a last quick example about that. This is a school in Palm Beach, Florida. They had their grade sixers play the game, flipped over their reduced food waste card, got inspired to take this action, and their local TV station picked up the story.
Meanwhile, at Rosarian Academy, sixth graders are carefully weighing the wasted food after the daily lunch break to see if they can reach a 30% reduction over the next 3 weeks.
The school was even so inspired by the students presenting to administration their idea and why they want to do it and why it's important that the leadership decided to bring back a garden that the school previously had and they got rid of in order to build something else. I'm a first-year teacher, I don't know. And so we got the garden, and the garden is going to be built, and we're going to have little composting pods in the garden. So the game inspired the students, who then inspired the administration to make a bigger impact right here at school. So just so thankful that we're able to have the solutions game. And it really is a great learning tool for my students, even as a confident climate communicator. This really helped me in my classroom, and it helped inspire the next generation to act on behalf of our planet, which is really important.
All right, so whoops. I'll leave you guys with a quote from the World Economic Forum that I really like. And they're saying, if parents and educational systems leverage learning through play, we could all be more prepared for the future. And that is everything. Thank you so much.
That is perfect, Sam. Yes. So the way you can take action, get out your iPhones right now and go play the solutions game. If you're wondering where Sam's accent's from, he's from Canada. So it's through this virtual opportunity that we've got to connect with him. He also, I'd love you to know, is a major player in a group called Work on Climate, which is one of the fastest growing climate activist groups out there. It's wonderful. Sam, thank you for all that you're doing. Really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.